What's up guys, ZDMD here and welcome back to another video. Today we have got a tier list, the Mad City Chapter 2 Heroes and Villains tier list. I've made this all by myself and we have the 7 heroes actually, 7 heroes and the 3 villains to make 10 overall. And we are going to be ranking them in order of if they need a major nerf, a minor nerf, if they're perfectly balanced, if they should have a minor buff, or if they need a major buff or rework. Okay, so first up we've got Hotrod. Now I'm going to stick everyone in perfectly balanced while I talk about them, and then we're going to change them a little bit. So Hotrod, very similar to what he was in Chapter 1, he has 4 main differences from what I've worked out. He has a stamina bar when he runs, so he can't run fast forever. Eventually he has to stop for like 3 seconds to get the stamina wheel to regen. Hotrod can also now run faster, which is quite cool. His punches now do more damage. It went from 7 to 10, although to be fair, everyone's punches do more damage now. I don't know if you're aware, but if you punch as a prisoner, instead of doing 7 damage, you now do 10 damage. And the final one, which is not too great in my opinion, is in Chapter 1, if you damaged Hotrod would slow down, and I think it will be depending on the damage you do. So if you get Hotrod to 50 health, the Hotrod will only go at half the speed that it normally does until it regens. So basically damaging the Hotrod more makes it go slower, which is something I really liked about Hotrod. It's now removed. I was in a fight with someone, they hardly hit me, I hit them for like 70 damage, they've got like 30 health left, and they managed to run away at the exact same speed they had at full health. In my opinion, Hotrod, because of this, should have a minor nerf. I think the way they can nerf it is send it back to basics, remove the stamina wheel for running so that Hotrod can run forever at the same high speed, but if you damage Hotrod, you slow it down. Okay, next up is Inferno. Now Inferno is very similar to how he was in Chapter 1, but he's a little bit different. So Inferno now does 25 damage per hit instead of 12. Yeah, he can fly and he has a stamina wheel. That is basically it. So he can fly, but he can't fly forever, and he will have to stop flying for about 3 seconds for the stamina wheel to fully regen, and then he can start flying again. And then his projectiles, as you can see on screen, he fires them, it does 25 damage per hit, so 4 hits to kill, or 6 if they've got body armor on. The projectiles do have a lot of splash damage, which means that, as you can see right now, if I fire between the 2 targets in the gun range, they'll both do damage, and in some cases you can do up to like 20 damage, which I think is a little bit broken. I'm sticking him in should have a minor nerf above Hotrod. I think this is a little bit better than Hotrod Inferno. I think a great way to nerf Inferno is just make his attack do 20 damage, and then splash damage it can be the same. Okay, so next up is Proton. Proton, just like Hotrod, hasn't changed too much in Chapter 2. He can still double jump, but now his double jump is even higher. He has a stamina wheel from this double jump. But if you double jump and you just double jump up and then come back down to where you were, the stamina wheel will regen by the time you land. So the stamina wheel is kind of useless unless if you're jumping from building to building. As well as this, Proton has a death beam. Before in Chapter 1 it was kind of like a mini death ray. Now it's just this constant firing beam, and it can range, one hit can range from like 2 to 6 damage. It's pretty good, but of course there are heroes that are better, there are heroes that are worse. I'm keeping Proton in perfectly balanced. I don't think he needs to be changed in the slightest. Okay, next up we have Vanta. So obviously Vanta, pretty good in Chapter 1. She could go invisible, you know, she could fire this kind of weapon, this purple matter, and it's the exact same in Chapter 2 as you can see right now. Her primary weapon is almost the exact same, it just looks a bit different. One shot does 7 damage, however, the bullets, they don't register very well. It feels like on most occasions it just doesn't seem like the shots really work and they really hit as they're meant to be. As well as that, Vanta can go invisible, but unlike Chapter 1, Vanta can go invisible forever. I've literally tried it, as you can see on the screen now. This is literally sped up footage. I went and I just kept walking with Vanta, thinking that it will run out eventually, and it never did. As well as this, on PC, for some reason we can't do this on mobile. I don't know if you can do it on like consoles. On PC, you can teleport as Vanta across short distances. So you've got this weapon that, while isn't very good, I think because of a bug it's not too great, and it will be if the bug gets fixed. You've got invisibility forever, and then you've got teleportation. That's a bit too much. I think for mobile players it needs a minor buff, but of course because the PC players can teleport, and I'm sure that it's just a mistake that developers have made, it needs a minor nerf, and in my opinion, Vanta's the best out of those 3. Okay, next up we've got Voltron, one of my favourites in Chapter 1, and it's quite similar in Chapter 2. Voltron's primary attack is very similar like before, it's just lightning. This time the lightning is super quick, as you can see right now. It fires really quickly, you need to reload quite a lot, and the damage is 6 damage, which in my opinion is a little bit too much, but I'll get into that in a second. Just like before, Voltron can also do his blue electric speed up move that was added in season 4. Voltron just goes really fast in that ball, and it is pretty quick, and it's pretty awesome for Voltron. The speed boost I think is absolutely fine, but I think his primary attack should be nerfed from 6 to 5. I think 6 to 4 is probably the perfect amount, but I think if they want to nerf Voltron, which I think they should do it 6 to 5, and if it's still a little bit overpowered, 6 to 4 would work. Okay, so this is the other person that I was talking about regarding Vanta having the shots not register fully. This is Frostbite. Now Frostbite is very cool, quite similar to before in Chapter 1, but it is a little bit better in my opinion, except for the primary weapon. Very similar weapon to before, it's like the ice shards as it was in Chapter 1. One hit does 7 damage, however, as similar to Vanta and as shown, it's not 100% accurate. Some hits just don't register, unfortunately, but I'm sure that's just a bug that will be fixed. Frostbite has our ice path and she can just use that. It does have a stamina wheel on it though, so she can't use it forever. However, unlike Chapter 1, you can actually shoot and aim and shoot while you're on that ice path, which I think is really cool. And it should have been a thing in Chapter 1. I don't know why it wasn't. In my opinion, I think Frostbite needs a minor buff. The only buff that it really needs is the hit registering the primary weapons. If the primary weapons just get fixed with registering the hits, it will go into perfectly balanced. Okay, we've only got one more hero to go, and that is Titan. Personally, Titan is my favourite hero to play as. He can fly, just like Inferno, he can fly, and he has a stamina wheel, so he can't fly forever. He needs to stop for 3 or so seconds, and then he can fly again. And his attack, he holds down the fire button and launches up to 10 different projectiles that go swimming about, and it just absolutely flies around and tries to hit the opponent. When you charge up this attack, obviously all the projectiles, as you can see, they go loads of different directions, but eventually they come together to hit someone. However, over short distances, as you can tell, you will get damaged a lot. With a lot of these hero powers, you do get damaged yourself if you're not careful while using them. You're most likely going to hit yourself more than you're going to hit the opponent. Over long distances, if you're trying to fire at a helicopter, it'll work just fine. But if you're trying to do a 1v1 and you're using the Titan power, you're probably not going to survive. Okay, next up is the Dutchman. I was about to say Phantom. Next up's the Dutchman. So the Dutchman is very similar, very similar to Inferno. Dutchman can fly and it has a stamina bar. Every attack does 17 damage and there are 10 shots before the Dutchman needs to reload. Compared to Inferno, that's 25. In my opinion, I think Dutchman needs a minor buff. It's just like Inferno, but Inferno does 25 per hit and Dutchman does 17 per hit. So it doesn't really make too much sense to me why there's an 8 damage difference. So in my opinion, needs a buff, if I'm being honest. I think Dutchman is actually, right now, I think Dutchman's worse than Titan. 2 left to go. Raven, in my opinion, is the best villain, stroke hero right now. Needs a minor nerf, and I'll tell you why. So Raven's primary weapon is very similar to Vanta's, who's right next to him. It's like a dark pulse, does 8 damage per hit, but unlike Vanta, the shots register a lot of the time. Vanta's, they don't seem to register very well. As well as that, I think Raven is amazing because he can fly and he has giant wings. If you jump with Raven while you've got the primary weapon out, Raven will jump up really high, which will take up some of the stamina in the stamina wheel. And then he'll start flying with these giant wings that he has. And you've got a lot of control over how he moves. I just think that the primary weapon mixed with everything else, it just makes a really good combination. And I think Raven's the best power. The last one on the list is Rykou. So Rykou, I've actually been using Rykou the most. I think Rykou's really cool and I think he's perfectly balanced, and here's why. So Rykou seems quite underpowered, but there is a reason why I've put it in perfectly balanced. Double jump has a stamina wheel, and unlike Proton's, Rykou's double jump doesn't go as high. Like Rykou will go like up here, but Proton will go all the way up here. So Rykou's double jump is a lot smaller than Proton's double jump, so the stamina wheel will get used up. His primary weapon, as I said, he has 2 attacks. If you go into just not aiming in at all, you have this sword, The sword is basically fists, but a tiny bit better. It does 10 damage per hit, just like fists. If you zoom in, however, you get to throw the swords. You throw 3 swords per hit. One sword does 10 damage, so you can do up to 30 damage per hit, 120 damage per clip, I guess you could call it. 12 swords per clip, 4 hits per clip. Does that make sense? 3 swords per hit, 4 hits per clip, 120 damage per clip. So it doesn't seem very good. 10 damage per hit with the sword as well as the throwing swords, double jumps. Why have I put this in perfectly balanced? Surely I should put it in minor buff or major buff. Villains rob the heists, and what Rykou is really good at is managing to double jump to avoid the obstacles. I would show you footage, but I want you lot to experience this for yourself without me showing it. I recommend Pyramid and Jewelry Store. Those 2 robberies you can skip so much with Rykou. Especially Jewelry Store. In the conveyor area, you can literally skip half of the obby. Yeah, Rykou is amazing in the heists, and obviously as a villain, only people that rob heists are going to be able to use Rykou, because heroes can't use Rykou. That is it. I think Rykou is perfectly balanced for that reason. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is the tier list. I hope you've enjoyed this video. What is your favourite hero right now, and what hero do you think should get a nerf or should get a buff that I've disagreed on? Comment down below and let me know. Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. Like I said, make sure to subscribe to the channel to help me hit 2,500 subscribers. My name is ZDMD, and as always, peace out.